Hi, welcome to today's episode. If you are thinking about running your first A/B test or generally thinking about how you can design your experimentation, then this video is for you. My name is Zain and I'm the squad lead for growth and experimentation at Adasight. Today we are going to go over a 8-step process to help you build and establish a robust and a scalable framework in your organization. At the end of this video, you're going to have that. So jumping right in, the first step in this process is going to identify what are the things that you're going to test. You have to find the biggest opportunities that are going to create impact, and there are multiple ways of doing that. You have to look at your analytics data. You have to identify the drop-off points and build hypotheses based on that. The most important thing is user feedback. Talk to your customers or talk to your customer service agents. This is where you can identify your customers' pain points. Heat maps and session replays are going to help you identify UX and UI friction points, and you can build hypotheses based on that. A lot of the times, business goals help you hypothesize and build a list of experiments that you can run based on that. Use the ICE framework for prioritization. You have to write your impact and the confidence that you're going to have if that hypothesis is going to work or not, and then the ease of doing it. And multiply all of these together out of 10, and then you're going to have a score which you can use to prioritize. The next step is going to write your hypothesis. Hypothesis is going to tell you what are you going to do, why are you doing it, and what's the impact it's going to have. So the formula is if I change this, then the outcome is going to be this because my customers were telling me to do so. A weak hypothesis means changing the button color will increase conversion. A strong hypothesis would be if we change the CTA button from blue to green and increase the size by X%, then the click-through rate is going to increase by X%. And this is where we talk to our customers and the customers were telling us to do so. So a good hypothesis is going to be your second step and very important step in your experiment design. Now we move on to the next step. This is where you are going to choose your metrics. The metrics are going to be primary metrics and secondary metrics. Primary metrics are going to be tied to your business goals. Make sure that you have the most relevant primary metric and it is tied to your business goal. Another thing that's very important for primary metric is that you have to choose a metric that is going to help you get to statistically significant results in the most optimal amount of time with the most optimal sample size that is available to you. For the secondary metrics, you can have 3 to 5 different metrics. And among those metrics, you can have some guardrail metrics so that upstream or downstream of where you are trying to measure your impact, you can have certain guardrails in place. So let's say if something breaks, then you can always pause your or end your experiment. Then you're also going to have some diagnostic metrics and then some future indicators as well. Some primary metrics could be revenue metrics, engagement metrics, or some action metrics as well. With this, we move on to our fourth step. This is where you are going to design your variants. This is where you have to decide whether your split is going to be 50-50 among two variants if you have planned for two variants, or if it's going to be 33% among three variants if you are planning to have three variants. Make sure that you decide this based on the sample size that you have or the traffic that you have, and make sure that you have the relevant variants available for you in this particular step. And the variants could be different colors, different layouts, different copy changes, different structure, and it can get very complex. But for beginners or just for the basis of designing your experiment, we're just taking example of two variants where the split is going to be 50-50. Or step 5 is going to be very important. This is where you calculate the sample size. There are a lot of tools available online where you can calculate the sample size. This also goes back to selecting your primary metric. And let's say if you go to Amplitude, Amplitude offers one of the best sample size calculators out there. And you measure your sample size, and the sample size is probably going to require you, let's say, 1 month of running the experiment. So this is where you can test other primary metrics and see whether you can reduce that time or not. The baseline conversion rates are going to come in here, and then you're going to input the minimum detectable effect. This is the smallest improvement that you care about, and this is your sensitivity of your test. The confidence levels and statistical powers are also going to come in, and as a result, you are going to get your sample size. So currently, for this particular scenario, we are getting 62,000 visitors per variant and total 124,000 users for us to reach to statistically significant results. This is based on the traffic that you have and the metrics that you select and the number of variants that you're going to have. And again, the MDE is going to also have an impact on it. So if you want a smaller minimum detectable effect, the sensitivity of your test increases and the sample size also increases. And you can also use the calculators online and also the calculator amplitude in order to test different combinations of this. With this, we move on to the next step. This is where you are going to run your test. You launch the test, you monitor. So you have to make sure that you roll out it in like small batches. Normally, you roll out it for the 25% of the users that you have, then you roll out it to 50%, see if something breaks, then you roll out it to 75%, and then to 100% of the users that you are testing your experiment on. And then you have to wait. You have to wait for the time duration that you calculated in the last step in order to look if the results are the ones that you were expecting or not. And this is where you are going to analyze your results. You are not recommended to peek into results because this is where it's going to create a bias and you might pause your experiment prematurely. So you have to run your test, you have to wait for the results to come in, and then you can decide whether the results were the ones that you would want to see. The next step is going to be analyzing your results. So let's say if you're running your experiment and the time duration was 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks you come back, of course, you are going to look at the results in between. So let's say if something goes down by a large margin, then you can always pause your experiment and end it. But it's strongly recommended that you run the test for the amount of time that you have decided. So you're going to look at some metrics when you are analyzing your results. So this is your controls conversion rate. This is the conversion rate of variant. Statistical significance is 96%. P-value is 0.04. If it's less than 5% or 0.05, then your results can be statistically significant. A statistical power is at 85%. So this is where you can say my test results are significant. If it's the other way around, the p-values are high and the statistical significance is low, then you cannot evaluate these results. But if this is not green and this is red and you are seeing a decline, then the variant does not win, your control wins. But in this particular scenario, your variant is winning because the uplift is at 11.5%. The next step is going to document the results that you saw. It's very important that you document the hypothesis that you had, the results that you saw in terms of the primary metrics, and also the results that you saw in terms of the secondary metrics. Because there are things that are going to move in a different direction from the primary metric, and that's important to document. And then you are going to document the time period because seasonality is an important aspect that can happen. And after that, you are going to write your decision whether you shipped the variant or you did not. If you did not do that, write why, or if you did ship it, then also write why did you do that. In the future, if you come back to this, then it's going to be very important to see the list of the experiments that you have and the documentation that would in detail tell you what were the decisions that were made and why you made those decisions. This is where this particular framework ends. Some of the common mistakes that you need to avoid, you do not need to stop too early. A lot of the times, people get really impatient and they stop too early. A lot of the times, people are testing too many things at once. You don't need to do that. Take it slowly and trust the results that are coming in. Hypothesis is very, very important. Not having a hypothesis means that you do not know what you are optimizing for. Primary metric or choosing a primary metric is the most important one. These metrics should be again tied to your business goal and should be relevant to the test that you are running. not documenting results. This is where people are going to run experiments. 2 quarters down the line, they wouldn't even know what they were running, and they wouldn't know what are the decisions that they took. So it's very important that you avoid all of these mistakes. So the right way is write your hypothesis, choose the primary metric, design your variants, calculate your sample size, wait for the results, be patient, analyze your results with the nuances that are there, and then document everything and move on. This is where you can run multiple experiments at a single point in time. You can run a lot of experiments in a month. The frequency is going to be high. And with this, you can have a very good framework implemented into your organization. Hope this video was useful for you. Feel free to connect with us for any feedback if you have any, or if there are any follow up questions. Thank you.